Welcome to the public presentation for the Calkins Road Rehabilitation Project in Henrietta, New York. This project lies between East Henrietta Road and Pinnacle Road. This project is locally funded and administered by the Monroe County Department of Transportation. During this presentation, we will discuss several topics. We will begin with the project location, then do an overview of the existing conditions and the project objectives. Next, we'll discuss the potential improvements that are proposed. Understanding the work zone traffic control and the project schedule will be key and will be covered later in the presentation. Finally, we'll discuss the project team contact and how, if you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to the Monroe County Department of Transportation to make your comments and thoughts known. The Calkins Road project is located in the town of Henrietta. On its western edge is East Henrietta Road and Calkins Road intersection, and on its eastern edge is the Pinnacle Road and Calkins Road intersection. The total length of the corridor is approximately 1 mile. As we take a look at the project area map shown here, it should be noted that on the western edge near East Henrietta Road, there are some commercial properties. However, the vast majority of this project falls within a residential area, thus making this project a critical piece in connecting the residents. Let's take a look at the existing conditions. Here we're going to start with a typical existing roadway section, as you can see here looking east. Throughout the entire corridor, there are currently two 12-foot wide travel lanes running from east to west. On the outside of those travel lanes is a 6-foot wide paved shoulder that falls behind a 3-foot wide concrete gutter, as you can see in the image. The pavement cross slope does vary throughout, since the terrain varies. Currently, there are not any pedestrian accommodations that occur throughout this corridor. There are 3 separate closed drainage systems with 3 outfalls to the north side of Calkins Road that fall within the project limits. And currently there is a 61-inch by 84-inch corrugated metal pipe, arch pipe culvert, just east of Bard Lane. Now let's take a look at the existing traffic and speed data for this portion of the Calkins Road corridor. The posted speed limit is 35 miles per hour. However, when referred to the 85th percentile speed, we see that the eastbound traffic is moving at 42 miles per hour and the westbound traffic is moving at 43 miles per hour. For clarification on what the 85th percentile speed refers to, it can be noted as such. It is the speed at or below which 85% of all vehicles are observed to travel under the free-flowing conditions past a monitored point. Finally, the vehicle average of daily traffic according to the 2018 New York State Department of Transportation counts shows that approximately 10,012 vehicles travel through the area daily. Okay, now let's take a look at the existing conditions of the pavement. Maintenance history shows us that several upgrades have occurred over the decades. In 1962, a reconstruction of the entire project area from East Henrietta Road to Pinnacle Road occurred. Then in 1972, a partial reconstruction occurred, this time from East Henrietta Road to Thompson Road. In 1981, a true and level with a single course overlay and a shoulder widening was put into place behind the concrete gutters. This occurred from Thompson Road to Pinnacle Road. And then, in 2011, a Nova chip project, where the pavement generally consists of asphalt over a stone subbase layer, was put into place for East Henrietta Road to Pinnacle Road. For those who aren't aware, Nova chip is simply a preventative maintenance tool used to help extend the life of a road. Some of the other existing conditions today that we see are minor wheel path and edge line cracking, longitudinal cracks at the pavement joints, and pavement settling and irregularities have been identified where there are utility structures. Another important existing condition to take a look at is the collision history for this project area. This accident information comes from January 1st, 2018 to October 31st, 2021. During that time, 82 crashes occurred within the project area. 52 of those 82 crashes were at the East Henrietta Road signalized intersection. 9 of those 82 crashes were at the Pinnacle Road signalized intersection. 16 of the 82 crashes were at the side streets between East Henrietta Road and Pinnacle Road. 5 of the 82 crashes were at mid-block sections. 16 were not reportable crashes. 42 included property damage. 23 included injury. And there was one fatality crash at the intersection of Calkins Road and Down Street. According to crash patterns and the clusters identified at East Henrietta Road signalized intersection, there are northbound and southbound left turn collisions, eastbound, westbound, and southbound rear end collisions, and southbound side swipe overtaking collisions. This brings us to the project objectives. Why is this being done? What can the community look forward to? Well, there are 5 main points. 1. This project will correct existing pavement deficiencies. 2. It'll extend the life of the pavement structure itself. 3. It will improve surface and subsurface drainage. 4. It'll correct safety deficiencies and geometrics within the project limits. And 5. It'll provide improved cyclist and pedestrian accommodations within the project limits. The county and the design team have sought to come up with 2 alternatives for the proposed improvements of this project area. Scope of work for alternative 1 includes utility relocations as necessary, replacement of the existing culvert just east of Bard Lane, the removal of an existing concrete gutter and asphalt shoulder behind the gutter, the construction of drainage improvements, the construction of pavement widening with a new curb. This will give us 14-foot wide travel lanes, the installation of a new concrete walk on the south side of Calkins Road, the restoration of driveway aprons, the relocation of mailboxes as necessary, a mill and overlay of the existing travel lanes, and the installation of all new pavement markings and signage. Okay, now let's take a look at the proposed roadway section for alternative 1. Please note that this is the typical section, but it does not happen everywhere throughout the project. You'll note that the travel lanes are still both 14 feet wide. However, the shoulders themselves will be repaired, there'll be under drain added, as well as a stone curb. Outside of those stone curbs will be a new lawn area about 5 feet wide, and then beyond that on the south side is a 5-foot wide new sidewalk. On both the south and the north sides, the project will tie in directly to the existing grade. We're going to take a closer look now into each portion of the project and how alternative 1 deals with it. This graphic shows East Henrietta Road to Thompson Road. In this section, there'll be new curbs with milling and resurfacing of existing pavement. On the south side, a new 7-foot wide attached concrete sidewalk and a 5-foot wide detached sidewalk will lie along the south edge of Calkins Road. On the north side, we will be replacing the 7-foot wide attached concrete sidewalk with a new sidewalk of the same size. Please note that as we go through this entire section of alternative 1, there may be permanent easements needed along properties where the sidewalk cannot be wholly within the right-of-way. Later on, you can take a look at the project scrolls from Monroe County DOT website for more details. This section shows Thompson Road to 2-lane Parkway for alternative 1. The upgrades that will occur here are, again, a 14-foot wide travel lane, new curbing, and the 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk along the south side of Calkins Road. As noted on the previous slide, the improvements for this portion of the project between 2-lane Parkway to east of Down Street are the same. 2 14-foot wide travel lanes, new curbing, and a 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk on the south side of Calkins Road. As we continue east down the corridor, this portion of the project from Zornow Drive to Bard Lane also has the same accommodations. 14-foot wide travel lanes, new curbing, and a 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk on the south side of Calkins Road. This portion of the project is slightly different from Bard Lane to west of the Pinnacle Road intersection, in that the westbound lane will be 11-foot wide and be milled and resurfaced with a 6-foot wide shoulder reconstruction and a new drainage swale along the north side of Calkins Road. The eastbound lane will still be a 14-foot wide travel lane with a new curb and a 5-foot wide sidewalk along the south side of Calkins Road. In this final eastbound section of the project, as we transition back to the Pinnacle Road intersection, there are a couple of things to note. 1, there will be milling and resurfacing of the existing pavement from curb to curb. Also, the 5-foot wide sidewalk will then transition into a new 7-foot wide attached concrete sidewalk on the south side of Calkins Road. Okay, let's take a look at proposed alternative number 2. You will note in this part of the presentation that there are many similarities between both alternatives, but there are some changes as well. In this case, the scope of work includes utility relocations as necessary again, the replacement of existing culvert just east of Bard Lane, the removal of existing concrete gutter and asphalt shoulder behind that gutter, the construction of drainage improvements. One area where there'll be a change is the construction of new 6-foot wide shoulders with a new curb. This will result in the final travel lane section of 10 feet wide and a 6-foot shoulder. There will also be the installation of new concrete sidewalk on the south side of Calkins Road. There will be restoration of driveway aprons again, the relocation of mailboxes as necessary, a mill and overlay of the existing travel lanes, and the installation of all pavement markings and signage will occur once again. All right, here is the typical section for the proposed roadway for alternative number 2. Here's where you can really see the changes and the differences. If you take a look closely at this graphic, you'll note that the travel lanes are now only 10 foot wide instead of 14 feet wide. However, there's now a 6-foot shoulder on each side that'll be reconstructed, making the entire roadway itself slightly wider than it is today. On the north side, there'll be a 6-foot lawn area instead of a 5-foot, and a 5-foot sidewalk, just like in alternative number 1. However, the lawn area will vary in between the sidewalk and the edge of the roadway. Again, the existing grade will be matched with the project. Just like we did with alternative 1, we'll now take a closer look at each portion of the project for alternative number 2. This graphic represents the East Henrietta Road to Thompson Road section. Like the first alternative, we will mill and resurface the existing pavement from curb to curb. Also, there'll be a new 7-foot wide attached concrete sidewalk and a 5-foot wide detached sidewalk on the south side of Calkins Road. And we will replace the 7-foot wide attached concrete sidewalk on the north side of Calkins Road. Here is where we begin to see the biggest difference between alternative number 1 and number 2. This is the Thompson Road to 2-lane Parkway section. We will now have 10-foot wide travel lanes milled and resurfaced, with 6-foot wide shoulders that will be reconstructed. Again, we'll have new curb and a 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk on the south side of Calkins Road. For this section between Two-Lane Parkway to east of Down Street, we have a very similar situation that we saw in the last slide. 10-foot wide travel lanes will be milled and resurfaced. 6-foot wide shoulders will be reconstructed. There will be new curbing and a 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk on the south side of Calkins Road. For the area between Zarnow Drive and Bard Lane, we continue with the same elements. 10-foot wide travel lanes milled and resurfaced, 6-foot wide shoulders to be reconstructed, new curbing, and a 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk on the south side of Calkins Road. Now in this portion between Bard Lane to west of the Pinnacle Road intersection, we do have some variation. The roadway continues to be 10-foot wide travel lanes to be milled and resurfaced and 6-foot wide shoulders to be reconstructed. However, on the north side of Calkins Road, we have a new drainage swale. Throughout the area, there'll still be new curbing and a 5-foot wide sidewalk along the south side of Calkins Road. And finally, as we progress to the eastern limit of the Pinnacle Road intersection area, you'll note that the milling and resurfacing will continue for all existing pavement from curb to curb. But here we also transition, just like in alternative 1, from the 5-foot wide detached sidewalk to a 7-foot wide attached concrete sidewalk on the south side of Calkins Road. All right, now that we've seen both alternatives in detail, let's do a quick summary comparison. On alternative 1, the total pavement width is 28 feet wide, with two 14-foot wide travel lanes. There'll be curbing on both sides of the road, and in select areas along the north side, there'll be stormwater management practices. While on the south side, there'll be a 5-foot wide tree lawn, or trees, and a 5-foot wide sidewalk from Thompson Road to Pinnacle Road. There may be a need for 2 to 3 easements that are required for alternative 1. For alternative 2, the total pavement width is slightly larger at 32 feet wide, with two 10-foot wide travel lanes surrounded by 6-foot wide shoulders all the way to the curb. Again, we'll have curbing on both sides of the road and stormwater management practices in select areas on the north side. However, on the south side, the tree lawn width will vary and may not be large enough for some trees. We will again have a 5-foot wide sidewalk on the south side from Thompson Road to Pinnacle Road, and alternative 2 will require several sidewalk easements. Please note that in both design alternatives, the final design may result in the elimination of all sidewalk easements to accommodate the installation, but we won't know that until later. One consistent proposed improvement on both alternatives is the replacement of the culvert pipe just east of Bard Lane. This existing pipe is a 61-inch by 84-inch corrugated metal culvert pipe, and it has structural deficiencies. It must be replaced. So the proposed replacement pipe is a 48-inch by 76-inch elliptical reinforced concrete pipe. The flow capacities will be maintained with this new culvert. One question that is often asked on these kinds of projects is, what will happen with the traffic during construction? Well, during the hours of construction, the traffic will be maintained on site via a combination of staged construction with daily lane closures to always maintain at least one-way traffic. Outside the hours of construction, one lane in each direction will be maintained. And then during the culvert replacement at Bard Lane, a temporary detour for both directions will be set up for approximately 2.4 miles in length. It is important that everyone understands the tentative project schedule. As you'll see here, the final design public information is occurring now in December of 2022. After receiving comments, the team will continue to work in order to complete the design by August of 2023. In the fall of 2023, the project will be advertised and awarded for construction. And then construction will begin in the spring of 2024 for final completion by fall of 2024. You may wonder, what are the next steps? Well, field meetings with residents, if requested, are very important. These comments will be incorporated into the design, and then the final design will be completed. After it is completed, it'll then progress into the acquisition of easements and grading releases with each individual owner. The public comment period for this project is now open. If you have any comments or questions, please reach out to Tim Harris, the project manager for Monroe County Department of Transportation. He can be reached by phone at 585-753-7747 or email at timothyharris@monroecounty.gov. Please be sure to submit your comments no later than December 22nd of 2022. There are forms noted below that you can also utilize. Thank you for your interest in the Calkins Road Rehabilitation Project, and have a good day.